Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Arc Reaction, where this week we are discussing BPRD Hell on Earth, Flesh and Stone. So, Flesh and Stone is a story by Mike Mignola, John Arcudi, James Harren, and Dave Stewart. It follows primarily Agent Howard's, also referenced in the story as Gall Denar, who I don't quite comprehend what's going on with him, but he's essentially Agent Howard's was at some point picked up this magical sword from the Hyperborean era and is now possessed by the spirit of a Stone Age-like dude that has experience killing a lot of these monsters that the Earth is covered in, infested with. And this story is actually sort of a slow burner that covers his characterization and his work with a certain group with another agent, Agent Enos. They are going to blow up a big monster, as it turns out. So there's not a lot to say about this story because it's really nice. But if you compare it to the previous work Harren did on Reign of the Black Flame, I believe it was, which was the last story arc that he did, and he's done a lot of story arcs all involving Agent Howard's, it's interesting how slow this is because that was a big action-packed story, and Harren, his art he does action really well. He does kinetic energy in these stories really well. And if you're reading Rumble by Arcudi and Harren and Dave Stewart, you know that that is almost what he specializes in, these cartoony characters that really look like they're moving, and there's a lot of momentum and weight behind all their actions, and it's beautiful. And when he was doing a story with Liz where she's flying around and shit's getting blown up, he was in his element. This, on the other hand, is a much calmer story about a dead wasteland. Of course, until the big monster wakes up and starts chasing everyone, and then he's back in his element with big monsters doing stuff. Story-wise, I think it's a lot of just plot development, especially with Gall Denar and the story of his history with this sort of priest-like figure who made these stones that he recovers that apparently have some magical properties. So it's still slowly unraveling Agent Howard's past-ish thing. And then there's other subplots going on with Liz and Phoenix and the people at Zinco and them experimenting on some of these people that are infected. I don't know. They're trying to figure out if it's an infection because there's this fungal thing going on that I guess creates the monsters. It's hard to follow BPRD sometimes, but I absolutely love it. It is one of the books that I just can't stop reading. And James Harren's probably my favorite artist working on it, and Arcudi knows how to work. They make a really great team, so it's no surprise that they're working together on Rumble, because Arcudi sort of knows when to shut up, if that makes sense. He knows when to cut dialogue and let the art do the work. And there are a lot of big, long, silent scenes where James Harren really just goes crazy crafting this amazing atmosphere and these beautiful moments. And Arcudi doesn't step on his toes. He gets out of the way when he needs to get out of the way, and he goes in there and writes, and the story is just really fun to follow. I will say that the story, reading from issue to issue, I was getting lost. It took me having to go back and read it all as a single arc that it really actually came together and made sense, which is why we do reactions like this. I think that as an arc, this is pretty strong. Still really hard to hold up to the previous arc that they all did as a group with the Reign of the Black Flame, but the Black Flame's back, and he's still being intimidating and stuff, but this definitely feels somewhat of a 5-arc exploration of just how bad things are getting, because lots of people died. This is BPRD. And compared to some of the previous, I feel like this is a little slow, but I can't really knock it for that, because they do slow really well. And we've gotten the last 5 issues or so in between Black of the Rain Flame and this have been 1 or 2 issue stories, and this is finally a big 5-issue arc. It's fine for them to take them time, and usually I knock stories for sort of being too drawn out. This doesn't feel drawn out. This just feels well-paced, and just nice to look at, and that's sort of what it comes down to. I love James Harren's art, and I like the writing for this. And I think it's worth checking out, even though I don't get into a lot of the details. If you want to see me go into the nitty-gritty of the story, you should check out my article, where I'll go and do that. But in the meantime, I want to know what you really think of this book, and please feel free to subscribe, to follow us on social media, and we'll see you here next week. Goodbye.